In this video, I'm going to do one sample paper for the year 2024-25. I'll be doing just MCQ. Now, let's begin with the first question here. Look into the first question only. All right. So a similar question I've seen in this year CBSE sample paper. We have to identify X, Y, Z so that the reaction becomes balanced. Well, I go by the method of substitution, like I'll be, instead of balancing these equations, I can plug in these values and check which of them is correct. Like say, if I go by the first option here, replacing X here with what? 2, with Y with 1, and Z with 2 here. What you can see there, hydrogen is 4, hydrogen is 4 on this side, oxygen 1 into 2 is 2, and oxygen is 2 into 1, that is 2. So therefore, I'll say this is the correct answer. But if it does not comply, I mean, this does not match with the balanced equation, we will keep on trying with the other till we get the right answer. Now we can move to the next question. Here is a flowchart, as I can see here, where a metal reacts with dilute hydrochloric acid. So we know that metal reacts with dilute hydrochloric acid, except for dilute HNO3, right? You should know that metal does not react with dilute hydrochloric acid, but hydrogen gas is not produced in that case. Anyway, so let's focus on the part of this question. It says metal reacts with dilute hydrochloric acid to give metal salt, and hydrogen gas is produced, and we have to check which of the following combinations are correct. Now, as I can see that copper, which is you should know the activity series. So the metals which are below hydrogen in the activity series cannot displace hydrogen to produce, cannot displace hydrogen. And therefore, we'll say that hydrogen gas would not be produced in case of copper, because copper is below hydrogen in the reactivity series. So this is incorrect. Well, clearly iron is more reactive, is above hydrogen in the activity series. So this would be yes. Magnesium, yes, it is again higher than iron. So it should displace hydrogen, but they are saying no, so it is an incorrect option. Zinc is a reactive metal, moderately reactive metal, and it's above iron again. In fact, we are just supposed to see above hydrogen. So yes, it will go. So the correct option will be as per the below options given here, that is second and fourth. Second and fourth are the correct option. Diagram, a person is exhaling the air into it. Now, what do we know? That the exhaled air has greater percentage of carbon dioxide. You are all aware that we take in oxygen during respirations, and after respiration, when the food is oxidized, to release carbon dioxide. So the exhaled air has greater percentage of carbon dioxide than the carbon dioxide present in the air. Now we know that carbon dioxide reacts with oxygen. Sorry, carbon dioxide reacts with lime water, that is calcium hydroxide, to produce a precipitate called CaCO3, that is a white precipitate. Well, I think this is the question only. What they are asking, that when the test tube exhale, our observation is what? Fermentation occurs. Not at all, because fermentation takes place when glucose is oxidized anaerobically by yeast. Next is percentage of carbon dioxide is more in an exhaled air. Yeah, as I told you that it must be for that. So the exhaled air, this is pichkari, right? So when the exhaled air is blown into the lime water, the lime water turns milky due to the formation of a white precipitate called calcium carbonate. Coming to the next question, what you have to find out is current, right? It's a current flowing through a wire of resistance 2 ohm varies with time as shown in the figure. The amount of heat in joule in 3 seconds. So in total 3 seconds. Okay, clearly it is based on the Joule's law of heating. So what is Joule's law of heating? It is it is H. Why? What is second? Okay, now coming to the question again. So we know that according to Joule's law of heating, heat is directly proportional to the square of current, directly proportional to the resistance, and directly proportional to the time. Here time is the duration for which the current is flowing. Now look into the information we have been given. The resistance here is given as 2 ohms. So that is R is equal to 2 ohms. Well, resistance won't change. And the time in 3 seconds. So this is what the current, right? This must be the current. This is I. So what we are going to do is to first find the heat produced during first second. So replacing T, that means replacing case one, replacing T with 1 second, what we get? H is equal to I square. So what is I here? I is 3. Can you figure out from the this graph that when the time is 1 second, the current flowing in 1 second, sorry, the first 1 second, the current flowing, I'll use color. For the first 1 second, you can see that the current produced is 3. So replacing I with 3, 3 square into R, which is what is R here? R is 2 given already. And time for 1 second. So 3 square is 9, 9 into 2, 18. So 18 joule. That is the case one, right? It's not the whole of it. That is case two. Now I'm looking into this part of the graph, just this part of the graph. Here the time is from 1 to 2 seconds, not 2 second. Time is 1 to 2 second, that means 1 second. And as I can see from here, the current, well, if the direction changes, does not mean the current is negative here. It is minus 2 ampere. And what else? Yeah, resistance remains the same. So if I find the heat, it should be more than one marker question. H is equal to I square RT. So it's how much is I? I is 2. So minus 2 is the square is also 4. So 4 into R, which is 2 into time is 1 second. 8 plus 8, 8 into 1 is 8 joule. So this is 8 joule. And finally, for the last part, let's make color it differently. This one. So what you can figure out that here the heat produced I square, I is 1, right? I is 1. So 1 square is 1 into R, which is 2, and time is again 2 to 3 seconds, that is second to third second, 1 second only. So 2 into 1 is 2. So we can figure out the total heat produced is what? 18 plus 8 and plus 2. That comes out to be 28 joule. It's a good one. Now let's move to the next question. Now the next question, which is based on magnetic effect of electric current. So you can see a magnetic field lines of solenoid similar to a bar magnet. Yes, all of you must be knowing is similar. Which image correctly shows the solenoid as a bar magnet? So what you know, in a bar magnet, the magnetic field lines are concentric curves, right? And they emerge from the north. And let's say if I make a bar magnet to understand it more clearly, this is a bar magnet. What we know that here the magnetic field lines emerge from north, right? Emerge from north and they merge on the south. They merge on the south like this. So this cannot be because they are representing parallel lines. Well, this represents uniform magnetic field. So this is not true. Same here. And this time direction is also opposite. Well, this should be closest. Let me just check for the D part. D part is clearly it cannot be true because here the magnetic field lines are emerging from north. Yeah, these two are as of now it is correct, right? As of now it's correct for the direction. But you can figure out here one important thing you can figure out. Look into this. This is negative terminal, right? So the direction of current is from positive to negative terminal of the battery. So therefore, this should be north, right? The terminal of the solenoid, which is connected to the negative terminal of the battery, should be considered as the north, right? So the magnetic field lines are arising from here. It is correct. One more time, it's not easy to get in one go. What it says that as for the direction, I can say both of them is correct. But when you look into the terminals of the battery, what you need to notice here that keeping the mind the direction of current is from positive to negative terminal of the battery. So the end of this solenoid, which is if we connected with the negative terminal, should be the north pole where it is south. So therefore, this is incorrect. Well, by elimination method, we can say C is correct. Well, one more thing, if you are given these magnetic field lines as straight parallel lines, so that should be the most correct answer. Now coming to the next question. All right. So what is the question here is magnetic field lines around a conductor carrying current. So straight conductor carrying current is determined by the, okay. So let's recall what they are talking about. They're talking about the current carrying conductor and a straight conductor. We know that in this case, the magnetic field lines are what? Concentric curves, right? But then they are asking the rule. So rule is clearly the right hand thumb rule, also known as Maxwell's screw rule. So this would be the correct answer for this. Now, other question below it. Ankit observed the stain of a curry on a white shirt becomes reddish brown when soap is scrubbed on it. Okay. And let me read it with you. It says Ankit observed that the stain of a curry on a white shirt becomes reddish brown when a soap is scrubbed on it, but it turns yellow when the shirt is whitewashed with plenty of water. What might be the reason? Well, before we read the options, let me tell you that. Oh, was that turmeric, right? Curry has turmeric present in it, and that turmeric is an indicator, right? And is an indicator. So turmeric is an indicator, and soap is what? Soap is a base. Soap is a base. So whenever a base comes in contact with turmeric, it changes its color to reddish brown. Right. That should be the concluding point. So soap is one more time the turmeric, as you know, is a natural indicator. Its color, its natural color is yellow and does not change its color in acidic medium, but turns reddish brown in a basic medium. As you know that soap is a base and therefore it should turn reddish brown in basic medium. Well, soap is acidic is not correct. Soap is a basic in nature, correct, but more options. Turmeric is a natural indicator which gives reddish tingle in base. That's correct. Turmeric is a natural indicator with acid, so incorrect. So and third, second and third is we have this as the correct option, that is A. Yes, the next question is says which of the following represent isomers of butane? So what do you know? Isomers. Isomers are the compounds or hydrocarbons having same molecular formula but different structure. Let me write down a butane first. They're talking about butane C4H10, right? So it's one possible. There it has two isomers only. The one in which there is a straight chain having 10 carbon atoms attached, and the other is a branch one where the three carbon atom in a straight chain and the fourth is branched like this. Now let's figure out which of them is correct. Clearly there is no double bond in butane. There is no double bond in butane. There is no double bond in butane, and therefore this is the only answer correct. As you can see from the diagram, there is three carbon atoms in a straight chain and the fourth carbon atom is branched. You should now remember that butane has only two isomers. That is, one is this N-butane and this is isobutane. Let's come to the next question. What does it says that which of the following options correctly lists the changes that occurs in female during puberty? Okay, so the changes that takes place correctly in female, right, or in the puberty, you can read the options and I can see that the C is the correct options. Because of the development of mammary glands, size of the breast increases and the beginning of menstrual, that is the onset of menstruation, that indicates the puberty, and the thick hair around the body grow on the body, that's called the pubic region or the hair on the pubic regions. Now next question, it says what? equal volumes of hydrochloric acid and sodium hydroxide solution of same concentration, okay, are mixed and the pH of the resulting solution is checked. What will be the change in color? So first of all, you should know that first thing that you should know here is that strong acid reacts with a strong base to give a neutral salt and its pH will be 7, right? So because the here the salt is neutral. So what you can say, equal volumes of hydrochloric acid and sodium hydroxide. As you know, hydrochloric acid is a strong acid, sodium hydroxide is a strong base. Their concentration are also same, are mixed, and the color of the resulting pH. So it should be what? It should be yellowish green, right? Because this is the color for the pH being 7. Orange is acidic, right? Orange is mild acidic, mild acid for, this is strong concentrated acid, and this one is for what? Base. Now coming to the next question. In question number 11, we have to find out what is the correct direction for the flow of electric impulse. Well, this is the synapse, right? Synapse is what? Synapse is the part, right, where the dendrite of one nerve cell connects with the junction, right? The junction where the dendrite nerve ending of one is connected with the dendrite of another nerve cell. So, and you should also know that here what happens, that is the electrical impulse is getting converted into chemical signals. Now check for the first one. As you can see that here the information is traveling in this way. That's wrong, right? Information always travel from the dendrite to the cell body to the axon and then to the nerve ending. So clearly this is not correct. Now let's move to the next part. What you can see here again, the information is traveling. You can figure out here the information is traveling from the nerve ending to the dendrite. So again, it is incorrect. Third, if I see, yeah, here the information is traveling from the dendrite to the cell body to the direction, right? To the axon and then to the nerve ending, and then it is connected with the, then it is traveling to the dendrites of another nerve cell, and then it is traveling towards the nerve ending. So clearly C is correct. Now let's look for the other part also. Well, this part is correct here, but this is incorrect. Reason being, we can figure out that one dendrite end is connected, one nerve ending is connected with another nerve ending. So this is incorrect. So the correct option will be option C in this case. Let's move to the next one. The next question I can see is from electricity. It says two bulbs having following ratings given here, and we have to obtain the ratio of their resistance. So for that, I'm going to use this relation P is equal to V square by R. So that implies R will be what? V square by P. So let's obtain R1 here. R1 will be what? V square, and V is how much? 220. So it's 220 into 220, that divides 220, yeah? That divided by P, and P is how much? 40. I'll reduce it later. Then R2 is what? Using the same relation, V square, that is 110 into 110, that divided by 20. Now what we have to obtain was R1 over R2. What is R1? From here, that is 220 into 220 over 40, and that divided by this. So dividing is what? Dividing is same as multiplying with the reciprocal. So I'll write 20 above and 110 into 110 below. Well, this can easily be reduced. This is by 2 times. This again also by 2 times. This is 1 times and 2 times. 2 and 2 get cancelled. 2 over 1, right? That is 2:1. So the correct answer will be 2:1. Now let's come to the next. The next 13 question, as you can see, the diagram you have given, that is respiratory system. All I say, not breathing. So what you can see, which of the following statements are correct in reference to the role of A here? And A is what? A is clearly diaphragm, right? So what we know that diaphragm have two shape. One, it is cone shaped, you may say dome shaped also, and other times it is flattened, right? It's flattened. So what happens when we inhale? When we inhale, the diaphragm becomes flattened. The chest cavity size increases, because of which air is inhaled because of the low pressure inside the thoracic cavity. Air comes in. So let's come to just the movement of the diaphragm. This is the inhalation, this is the exhalation. Inhalation and exhalation. Okay, so what we have to find out in this case, that's a correct option, right? I can show you the all part. The first says that diaphragm, it helps to decrease the residual volume of air. Well, I can say that it does not have any role in the residual volume. Residual volume is that reserve volume of air that's present in the lungs, because the rate of breathing or absorption or diffusion is not as fast as the rate of breathing. So has no role of this diaphragm. It's flattened while inhalation has to be, I just discussed. And then it gets raised when inhaled. No, it is flattened, right? It is flattened when we inhale. All right, so this is also incorrect. It helps the chest cavity to become larger. Yes, the volume of the chest cavity increases, right, when it becomes flattened. So option second and fourth, B is correct in this case. Let's come to the next question. The next question is from the chapter chemical reaction and equation. And what do we have to do here is to observe the following. Following observations are observed when calcium oxide reacts vigorously with water. So calcium oxide is what? CaO, called quicklime, right? When it reacts with water, what is produced? Calcium hydroxide is produced as a combination reaction. Well, this reaction is highly exothermic, so heat is also produced. This is called quicklime. This is called slaked-lime. So let's read the options. The first option is what? It says it is an endothermic reaction. Clearly not, because here the heat is evolved, released. So this is wrong. Slaked lime is produced. So this is quicklime and this is slaked lime. So this is correct. Now, quicklime is produced. How come? Quicklime is a reactant that cannot be produced. It is an exothermic reaction. Yes, heat is produced, so it has to be an exothermic reaction. And was that option second, slaked lime, quicklime to slaked lime? That's right. It is a combination reaction. Yes, it is a combination reaction. As you can see, there is a more than one reactant. So we know combination reaction is one in which two or more reactant combines to give a single product. So this is also correct. So we have second, fourth, and fifth. Yeah, there is an option. That is C is the correct option in this case. The next question is from the chapter, which I don't know, I think. Okay, let's read the question. We'll figure out. Question here is, question says what? So it says that in which of the following setups would the bulb glow? So in the first case, we have to see very minutely. It's a dilute hydrochloric acid, which is a good conductor of electricity. The bulb is connected, switch is on. There is a nail, that is electrodes. There's a battery, and the battery is also properly connected. That's negative, positive, like that. So this is Correct, right? Here, as you know, the electrolyte, which is an dilute hydrochloric acid, is a good conductor of electricity, as it releases H plus ions, which you also write as H3O plus. Right. So this is correct. Now figure out sugar solution. Yeah, here the electrolyte is not. Sugar is what? C6H12O6. C6H12O6. It is a poor conductor of electricity. In spite of having hydrogen, it does not ionize. So same is the alcohol. Well, next is only the alcohol. So we can say this will also not conduct. Lime water. Okay, lime water is what? Lime water will conduct electricity, as you know. Lime water conducts electricity. So this is also correct. First and fourth is an option here. Well, we also should also look into the battery and all, because sometimes it may happen that the battery is not properly connected. Even if having the electrolyte as a good conductor, switch may be off, right? Something that you also need to be observe it properly. But as of now, I can see that everything is correct. They are looking for the electrolyte, and electrolytes are those which conducts electricity and has to be first and the fourth one. Now, the next question is from the chapter heredity, right? So it says that having the two parents, the male and the mother and the father, right? Two parents having the genotype AA and small a, the probability of having smallest genotype in the F1, first filial generation F1, is what? So let's say if I write this capital A and small a. So on crossing over, what you're going to get? This to this, first with second with first with first is done, first with second, and second with second. So it's going to be capital A, small a, capital A, small a, capital A, small a, capital A, small a. So you can figure out that here in this case, what's that? Heterozygous. This is heterozygous dominant. So it's in every case, it's going to be capital A, small a. So there is no small a. So we'll say that 0 and 0 is not an option. So we'll say in that case, it is none of this. So the next question is from the chapter again. So reproduction or could be heredity. Let's read it. And assertion reasoning, as it is always difficult to figure out, depending upon the question. Let's say assertion says accumulation of variation in a species increases the chance of survival of a changing environment. Yeah, that's true. But we know that is a variation that takes place in an organisms can be favorable, can be that is positive, can be negative, or can be neutral. So when it is negative, the chance of survival is less and the species may get eliminated. And if it is neutral, will not affect much. But if it is positive, it helps the organisms, will increase the chance of its survival in the changing environment. So we'll say that it should be correct. Assertion is correct. Now below, what is the reason? The reason says accumulation of heat resistance in some bacteria. Well, you know that bacteria can survive in a very wide range of temperature. So heat resistance bacteria ensures that survival when the temperature of the environment rises too much. Well, this is also correct. Some the bacteria, which if it becomes heat resistance because of the variation taking place in the body, will help them or will ensure survival even when the temperature rises. As you know that some bacteria are also found in what hot springs, right? So this is reason is correct because as you can see, the variation taking place on these bacteria has helped them to survive in a very high temperature. Not all of them, like we boil the milk and bacteria becomes inactive. But what we are talking about here is that in some bacteria they become heat resistant. So this is also correct. But I don't think the reason here is correct because the reason is about accumulation of variations which can be positive, negative, or neutral. So we'll say that B Yeah, it should be B is the correct option. That is, both are correct, but R is not the correct explanation of the assertion. The next assertion reasoning, and it is from the chapter magnetic effect of electric current. So what does it say is that a solenoid assertion tends to expand when current passes through it. Well, nothing like this is what we have studied in class 10th. Well, what we know that solenoid, which is made up of metals and metal, expands on heating, but there is no case of heat here. Okay, so now what we can conclude that, as you know, that when electricity is passed in a solenoid, it behaves like a magnet, and you know that these circular turns will start. These circular turns, right? These will behave like a magnet and will attract each other. So probably it will shrink, right? It will not expand. It will shrink. Reason I told you. Solenoid tends to contract as the current flows through it. All right. And reason being, they behaves like a magnet and therefore they must come closer. Coming to the reason here, what is it? A two straight parallel metallic wires current in the same direction. Yes, if the current flows in the same direction, magnetic field will also produce, like this being a wire. I'll make a wire first. This is an arrow. This is a wire. This is another wire. If the current is flowing through these wires in the same direction, then what is expected to happen that the magnetic field produced will also be in the same direction. Even if it is circular turns, but it's going to be in the same direction. And it's being in the same direction, what you can see that magnetic field produced in the same direction. So the polarity will be same and therefore they will repel each other. That's correct. Next. In question number 18, it says, assertion is what? It says that it is necessary to separate oxygenated and deoxygenated blood in mammals and birds. Yes, it is necessary, as you know, that these organisms, mammals and bird, should have a high efficiency because it prevents the deoxygenated and oxygenated blood from intermixing, and therefore the rate of respirations is fast. By that it means high amount of energy can be produced if the cells receives only oxygenated blood which is rich in oxygen, and this is necessary in some organisms like mammals, in some organism like what's that called, amphibians, right, reptiles and all. They have a three-chambered heart, so they can tolerate some amount of intermixing of the oxygenated and deoxygenated blood, and therefore they can tolerate this thing, some amount of intermixing, and that's why they cannot maintain the body temperature. But as you know that human being, we maintain the body temperature. Our body temperature is not same as the environment temperature, as you must have experienced, even during cold wind condition, winter, the body temperature remains 37 degrees Celsius, even if the outside temperature could be 5 or 7 degrees Celsius. Okay, so assertion is correct. What's the reason now? So the mammals and the birds are warm-blooded. That's true. And they depend, no, till here it is true, but then I can see that the statement changing. Let me use color. Here onwards, they depend they depend on the environment, their body temperature regulation. That's not correct. Our body temperature does not depends upon the temperature of the surrounding. So the assertion is correct and the reason is false. So assertion correct, reason false. Assertion is true and the reason is false. And the last question, it says what? It says decomposition, right? So decomposition of vegetable matter, I'll read it. Decomposition of vegetable matter is an endothermic reaction. No, it's an exothermic. So if you have ever made a compost, maybe in the school activity or somewhere, if you have made a compost, and if you feel like compost is what? When vegetable matter, animal excreta are put into pit and then covered with the soil after 2-3 months, If you take out, it turns into compost. And if you touch it, you'll find that it is warm. So decomposition, you have studied in the first chapter of chemical reactions and equations. So it is an exothermic reaction. So the assertion is wrong. What about the reason here? If there is a default option, then it should be assertion correct. Reason false. Decomposition reaction takes involves breakdown of a single reactant into product. Well, decomposition, as for the type of reaction, if you talk about, yes, it's true. Like passing electricity or say ferrous sulfate crystal, when it is heated, what is produced? Fe2O3 plus SO2 plus SO3. Without balancing, I'm talking about decomposition. As you can see, a single reactant and products are more than one. So here too, we'll say that the assertion is correct and the assertion is incorrect, right? And the reason is true. So option D, right? It should be option D, as we have determined that assertion is correct. So D is the correct option. So this will be my last question.